Hello and welcome to the most important podcast I will have ever done. This is going to be me live demoing why every single SEO tool on the entire market is wrong. My name is Stephen Pope and I'm the founder of My Amazon Guy. And I can say this boldly that we've got some big news that is so far industry-wide ranging that it will blow the socks off you. This matters because it's being done incorrectly by all of the popular SEO Amazon tools. And if all of these Amazon SEO tools are wrong and you're following them right now, you need to update your best practices immediately. The impact of what we're going to talk about today, before I answer questions, is extremely far reaching. It's basically an extra 15 to 20% of your search term juice. And I'm going to be going through and explaining this. This morning, when I came to grips with this discovery, and I tried to explain this to everybody else, my own team was struggling to understand it. So as I talk about this, if you don't follow me the first time around, ask some questions. I'm going to do my best to explain why this is such a big development. And I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to walk through how I came to this conclusion and why this matters. So here's the LinkedIn post that I made today that kind of explains some of this. And essentially what happens is in a tool like Helium 10 or ZonGuru, those are my two favorite SEO tools. They are counting characters instead of bytes. And so the way that Seller Central works is it actually counts bytes and not characters. So what is a character? What is a byte? A character is an alphanumerical or a space, but a byte does not include spaces. So in here, you can go into a tool like Frankenstein. This is part of Helium 10. And here you can see that they are counting 287 characters. Their tool should instead be counting bytes. All of the tools are focused on characters. They should be focused on bytes. So if you go over to Seller Central, this is my actual soap product, my Age of Sage soap product. Here is proof that this works. Right here, this is 287 bytes. Or excuse me, 250 bytes, but 287 characters. And so a tool like Helium 10 says, hey, go below 250 characters. But in essence, I'm able to get an extra 37 characters in. And once you hit over the 250 bytes, so let me just put some spaces in here. We should be able to trigger, hey, there's the error message. Please reduce your general keyword length to less than, what is that? 250 bytes, not characters. So I've made this LinkedIn post. I encourage everybody to come and comment on this post, help it go viral. This is an industry changing situation here. And I've started to try and get my hands on some of the other SEO tools to prove this. And I have not been able to get access to as many as I wanted as quickly as I can. But right here, here's the ZonGuru proof. So right there, ZonGuru's tool, 288 characters over 250. And I've already talked to the CEO of ZonGuru. His name's John Tilley. He's probably even watching this right now. He's going to switch his ZonGuru tool over to Bytes. He's already told me he's going to do that. I have a direct tie to him. Helium 10 also going to do the same thing. I suspect that all of the SEO tools are doing this incorrectly. So instead of counting characters, you need to be counting bytes. And the spaces are what you need to not worry about. So if you have a lot of small search terms, so like let's say you're doing 2 and 3 letter search terms, don't worry about it because the spaces between those do not affect you. They don't affect your SEO. They're not counted by Amazon against you. In the past, and I think like 5-6 years ago, there was a gigantic debate about whether spaces or commas were the best way to do Amazon's SEO. And and Jeff asked, by the way, here, so is a space a byte? No, it is not. That's the point I'm making here. And I know this is going to take some time to sit in with everybody. It's going to take some time to sit in with the industry. And quite frankly, one of the questions I'm asking myself, how did everybody miss this? Here's a fun fact, though. My team has been doing this correctly without my knowledge. And so when we talk about why we're SEO pros, we had figured out this was a 250 bytes issue basically since we started our SEO documents. And we don't use the tools. We use Excel files to count the bytes. And so this soap product that I'm showing right here was done by my team. So I'm going to delete that out. We'll get the error to go away here in a second. And they built this, and it was at 287 characters. 287 bytes. This is going to be really hard. Even if I'm messing it up and explaining it, I don't expect everybody to follow this entirely and track with me. But in any case, let me repeat this. Spaces do not count. And 5 or 6 years ago, there was an industry debate about whether you should include commas in your search term field. And the reason why I recommend you don't include commas in your search term field is because you can permutate, that is combine, every key phrase with the following key phrases. So if we bring back the screen here, I'll make it as big as I can. That means that lemon blend also combines with lavender, which also combines with winter and citrus. If you put commas in here like lemon, comma, blend, comma, whatever, these words, instead of permutating with each other, would be separated. It would basically signal to Amazon that these words do not correlate. We want them exact match. And so these commas also don't count against your spaces. So even if you don't believe that you should use spaces instead of commas, you can test this yourself to prove that commas as well as spaces do not count against your bytes. So those that are tracking with me at home, pull up one of your Seller Central inventory pages right now. Go into your search term field, keywords drop down, search term field, and start playing with it. I double dog dare you to do this right now with me. Just type in 5 spaces like this, or 100 spaces. Doesn't matter. How many spaces can we do? Spaces galore. Here we go. Does anybody see a red error message? No. Why? Because spaces don't count. We could test this again with commas like this. Commas. They don't count. So here is the Amazon help file that proves all of this. Let's see if I can get the right tab here. So this reference help file, I'm putting this into the chat right now. This is such a big development. This is going to completely change how people view SEO on Amazon. This is the biggest announcement or big reveal that I have done since I proved that A+ content indexes. And that was revolutionary, which then changed how everybody did their enhanced brand content, where they put copy into the enhanced brand content and they focused on the alt text of A+ content. This is extraordinarily big news because it means that everybody can get an extra 15 to 20% SEO juice that all of the SEO tools, Helium 10, ZonGuru, probably many others. We haven't physically tested Jungle Scout yet, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be in the pile of all tools being wrong. And this means that you need to not count spaces in your search term field against your byte count, not a character count, but a byte count. All right, so let's go to the Amazon help file. Right here, it says, what is the difference between a byte and a character? The search term field in Seller Central has a built-in byte counter, which stops accepting input at the length limit that is quoted in bytes and not characters. So when I'm doing this big reveal, this is like such a Like, oh my gosh, how did everybody miss this? This help file is clear as night and day, but everybody missed this. It stops accepting input at the length limit that is quoted in bytes and not characters, as some search terms contain multiple byte characters. Bytes correspond to a one-to-one alphanumerical character, for example, A to Z or A to Z or 0 to 9. The length becomes variable when dealing with more complex characters, such as I actually don't even know how to say this. Umlaut, is that how you say it? In German, for example, which can be 2 bytes per character. So for those in Europe with some German language, pay attention to that. That counts against you. 2 characters, not 1. 2 bytes. Wow, I've got to correct myself here. Other complex characters, such as Japanese and Chinese characters, can be 3 or 4 bytes. There are cases where search terms can contain a mixture of single and multi-byte characters, which make prediction of characters count complex. Right? So that was a mouthful. Are spaces and punctuation counted? No. We cannot get any clearer night and day of what I'm revealing today, which will send shockwaves through the SEO community about how to properly do search term organization on Amazon for your account. And you're hearing it first on the My Amazon Guy podcast. The purpose of calculating the length of search terms, Amazon search does not count spaces or punctuation. For readability, search terms should be separated by spaces. Punctuation can be used, but is not mandatory. I'm not going to keep reading the help file and bore you all to death. You can read it yourself, but these are the 2 points that put this issue to rest. It is so perfectly understandable about how Amazon does it. So we showed you on the back end, commas don't count, spaces don't count. But the moment I start putting these characters in, watch that red arrow. Please reduce your generic keyword length to less than 250 bytes. That's proof. So really, really big news. I want to take credit for this news to show that this is why you should work with My Amazon Guy. These sort of developments are what puts us far ahead of the agency competition. There is nobody on the entire market that understands Amazon SEO like My Amazon Guy. Nobody. And we have continuously set the standard and the bar extremely high. If you don't understand SEO, your design will be wrong. If you don't understand SEO, you can't manage your catalog correctly. These 4 key areas tie together. You must have PPC and SEO, design, and catalog running your account. And if you're missing one of these components, you're in for a world of pain to manage your Amazon growth. All right, so that is my big reveal on SEO. If you joined us late, we just revealed that every SEO tool is incorrectly counting spaces towards your byte count in your search term field, which means there's 15 to 20% extra space in your search term fields that all the tools say you shouldn't be using, but you should totally be using. This is a major development.